In this video we'll be looking at the cardiovascular system and the respiratory system. Firstly we'll look at lobes. The lungs are divided into lobes. The right lung has 3 lobes and the left lung has 2. The right lung is slightly bigger than the left. On the right lung you have the superior lung, located at the top of the right lung, the middle lobe and the inferior lobe, located at the bottom of the right lung. On the left lobe there are only the superior at the top and the inferior at the bottom. The lobe's job is that if one lobe gets infected, it will not affect the others and the lung will still function. This is how it helps the respiratory system. Each lobe receives air from its own bronchus. It is separated by connective tissue. My Olympic athlete that I'm studying in this assignment, Mo Farah, would need lobes to help breathe and take in oxygen, and therefore give energy to the working muscles when performing in sport. This is a quick diagram of the lobes. You can see there's the upper lobes. On the left lobe there's the middle lobe. Obviously there's not a middle lobe on the right. A lower lobe, another lower lobe. You can see the alveoli just pictured there, which occurs just there. And then also the bronchioles. There's a trachea. Next we'll move on to the pleural membrane. The pleural membrane is a double-layered serous membrane found in the thoracic cavity, which we'll talk about later. The outer layer is called the parental pleural and lines the thoracic wall, and the inner layer is called the visceral pleural and covers the lungs. They produce lubricating serous fluid that causes them to adhere closer to one another. This holds the lungs to the thoracic wall, allowing easier movement during breathing. The pleural membrane helps to keep the 2 lungs away from each other and airtight. Therefore, if one lung is punctured and collapsed due to an accident, the other pleural cavity will still be airtight, and the other lung will work normally. Here's another diagram. We'll have a look at the visceral pleural there, the parental pleural, the left pleural cavity, right pleural cavity. Visceral pleural. The lungs are surrounded by 2 pleural sacs. The outer pleural is attached to the chest wall, as known as the parental pleural. The inner one is attached to the lung and other visceral tissues, as known as the visceral pleural. In between the 2 is a thin space known as pleural cavity, or pleural space. It is filled with pleural fluid, again which we'll talk about in a minute, a serous fluid produced by the pleural. The visceral pleural is a thin layer of serous membrane tissue that sticks to the surface area of the lungs. A fluid produced by the pleural layers surrounds the lungs and covers the visceral pleural. The visceral pleural is attached to the lung and other visceral tissues. Now we'll move on to pleural fluid, as I was talking about. In between the parental pleural and the visceral pleural, which we just spoke about, it is filled with pleural fluid, a serous fluid produced by the pleural. The pleural fluid lubricates the pleural surfaces and allows the layers of pleural to slide against each other easily during respiration. It also provides the surface tension that keeps the lung surface in contact with the chest wall. It prevents separation of the 2 lung layers and lubricates the surface, so lungs can move easily within the thoracic cavity. The blue bit there is the pleural fluid. There we've got the lobes as well, the bronchi, the bronchioles, the trachea again, the right lobes, alveoli again. But the sort of light blue, that's the pleural fluid. Thoracic cavity. The thoracic cavity has 3 main compartments. The mediastinum and 2 pleural cavities. The mediastinum is the home to the heart, trachea, great vessels and some other structures. The pleural cavities are on either side of the mediastinum and contain the lungs and the pleural linings. The thoracic cavity holds in the organs at the chest, including the lungs, heart, etc. When breathing, the thoracic cavity becomes larger, which decreases the pressure of air within the lungs. The surrounding air is then at a higher pressure, which means the air is forced into the lungs. Then the thoracic cavity is returned to its original size, which forces air out of the lungs. Now we'll look at internal and external intercostal muscles. Firstly, the intercostal muscles are made up of two different kinds of muscles, both external and internal intercostals. They are placed in the ribs and help us to breathe and also to help us our posture. The internal portion also allows the lungs and body to exhale, and they run perpendicularly to the external intercostal muscles. The external portion allows the lungs and body to inhale. Working together with the ribs, sternum and the lungs, the intercostal muscles keep us breathing. Exercise can increase the strength of internal and external intercostal muscles, and because intense training program, he will benefit this and have stronger internal and external muscles than the average human being. This is, of course, Mo Farah, my athlete, we're talking about here. This will make Mo Farah be able to inhale and exhale oxygen more quickly and more forcefully. This will enable Mo to take it more oxygen in while performing, which is essential because that will give energy to the working muscles which is needed. Now we'll go on to arteries. The structure of the arteries is that they are large and have thick, strong walls. They contain a high percentage of smooth muscles. This can be controlled by hormones and special signals from the nervous system. The function of the arteries is that they are blood vessels that carry the blood away from the heart. They also carry oxygen out to the blood and important nutrients, bringing in raw materials that your body, your organs need in order to do their jobs. The blood that the arteries is rich in is oxygen and nutrients that the body's organs need to function and also to give energy to. Some of the different arteries are called the pulmonary artery, aortic artery and coronary artery. Mo Farah's arteries will be in better condition to the average person as they will not be clogged, as his constantly training his cardiovascular endurance and is under strict diet when competing. This will enable blood to flow around his body more efficiently, so it will help Mo Farah in his performance and more oxygen will be getting provided to the working muscles. Next we'll look at arterioles. The structure of arterioles are that they have thinner walls than arteries, which means less pressure, and to decrease friction they have smooth muscles on the inside so they can deal with high pressure. When arteries further away from the heart they get smaller, and when they have decreased in size to a certain point they are referred to as arterioles. So sort of arteries break into arterioles is sort of what this is meaning. Arterioles carry blood away from the heart and out to the tissues of the body. Arterioles are very important in the blood pressure regulation. They respond to a wide variety of chemical and electrical messages. Also, they are constantly changing size to either speed up or slow down blood flow. Next, we look at capillaries. Capillaries are very small and narrow, as only one blood cell can fit through them at a time. As they're only one blood cell thick, and in some capillaries, depending on where they are in the body, they have microscopic holes, which may be too small to allow blood to flow through, but are large enough to allow the other molecules such as protein to feed the tissues and repair. Capillaries deliver nutrients and oxygen in the blood to the tissues of the body. Although as capillaries are so small, these junctions pass through them via infusion. The capillaries act as the link between the arterioles and venules. My athlete Mo Farah that I'm looking at would use capillaries to make sure he gets oxygen to the working muscles as fast as possible and exhale carbon dioxide. This means he would need healthy, strong capillaries, and to help this would be his cardiovascular training. He's obviously also doing as he runs the 800, 1500 meter run. Now we'll look at veins. The vein walls are very thin and contain very little muscle, but although they are thin, they are extremely stretchy and can stretch up to 10 times their normal diameter. This lets them act as blood warehouse. Blood slows down. The lowest heart rate or contracted arterial. This means they can have a lower impact or increasing blood pressure. The main function of the vein is taking blood to the heart from the body. This blood being deoxygenated blood. When veins are carrying blood, it is at a lower pressure. Veins are extremely important in life. Exactly. But blood veins, which we use using high-intensity training program diet, they need the blood to travel to the working muscles as soon as possible. This is because in the blood they contain red blood cells which carries oxygen, and muscles which need oxygen to provide energy for that muscle. Venules. Venules are a type of blood vessel found in the blood circulation system. As blood vessels get further away from the heart, they branch out to form smaller vessels, which is known as blood venules. So a bit like the arterial, as arteries break into arterioles, here vessels break into venules. Venules link the capillary to the vein when the blood is being transported back to the heart and lungs. A vein is much larger than a venule and can carry a much higher volume of blood. Many venules will join with a single vein to transport the blood around the body. Now look at gaseous exchange. The main function of the respiratory system is gaseous exchange. This refers to the process of oxygen and carbon dioxide moving between the lungs and blood. During gaseous exchange, diffusion occurs, as the blood in the capillaries surrounding the alveoli has a low oxygen concentration than the air in the alveoli which has just been inhaled. The blood which is surrounding the capillaries has a higher concentration of C2O than the inspired air due to it being a waste product of energy production. So C2O diffuses the other way from capillaries into the alveoli where it can be exhaled. Gaseous exchange is needed for Mo Farah, as he needs to exhale the carbon dioxide and inhale oxygen to provide more energy for the working muscles, and this is the function of the gaseous exchange. The process of oxygen and carbon dioxide moving between the lungs and the blood. Mechanisms of breathing. Inspiration and expiration. Breathing occurs when the contraction or relaxation of the muscles around the lungs changes from the total volume of air within the air passages, bronchioles, inside the lungs. Inspiration occurs when the diaphragm and external intercostal muscles contract. Contraction of the diaphragm leads to an increase in the thoracic cavity, while then contraction of the external intercostal muscles evaluates the ribs and sternum. Both these muscles cause the lung to expand, increasing the volume of their internal air passages. Therefore, the air pressure inside the lungs decreases below that of air outside the body. Because of diffusion, air rushes into the lungs. Expiration occurs when the diaphragm and external intercostal muscles relax. So it's kind of the opposite of inspiration. In response to this, the elastic fibers in the lung tissue cause the lung to really fill their original volume. The pressure of the air inside the lungs then increases above the air pressure outside the body, and air rushes out. During high rates of ventilation, expiration is facilitated by contraction of the expirator muscles, which are the intercostal muscles and abdominal muscles. When Mo Farah is performing, the mechanisms of breathing is essential, as he'll be needing to get the oxygen to the working muscles, so he'll need to be taking in oxygen quickly to provide energy. MoFar's intense training program